Awareness is always self-aware. There's no difference between awareness, there's no difference between being aware and being aware of being aware. They're the same thing. The only reason I use the phrase being aware of being aware is that most people are primarily being aware of their thoughts and feelings. So in response to that, I suggest instead of being aware of your thoughts, feelings, sensations and perceptions, be aware of being aware. The danger of a statement like this is that it suggests that there is one thing called being aware, and that when we are aware of being aware, we are aware of being aware in the same way that we are aware of our thoughts. But that's just a limitation of language, that there is just being aware, and being aware is, or there is just awareness, and awareness is self-aware. By nature, it cannot not know itself. Awareness always knows itself. In the most so-called enlightened person, and in the most so-called unenlightened or ignorant person, awareness is always knowing itself. In the case of the so-called enlightened person, awareness is knowing itself as it is. In the case of the so-called unenlightened person, awareness's knowledge of itself is so thoroughly mixed up with its knowledge of other things that its knowledge of itself seems to acquire the limitations of the things that it is aware of, and thus its knowledge of it knows itself as something temporary and finite. It still knows itself, but its knowledge of itself is obscured or qualified or colored by experience, and therefore it doesn't know itself clearly. And it's for this reason that if we were to ask all 7 billion of us, do you have the experience of being yourself? Everybody would answer yes. The so-called enlightened, the so-called unenlightened, everyone has an experience of being myself. But most people's experience of being myself is colored by their thoughts, feelings, sensations and perceptions. And therefore, although everybody knows their self, not everybody knows their self clearly.
If everything of form exists in awareness, is the opposite also true? So, clearly we can make assertions about being aware as individuals, but does it feel like something to be that chair or something? As an example, is the chair or the inanimate object that you're interacting with in the way that it exists in awareness, that makes sense? Does it also have a sense of I am? And how does that change our ethical responsibility?
That there is nothing that it is like to be a chair. Yeah, in other words, you take the statement, I am a chair. There is no experience that corresponds to the statement, I am a chair. Now, we believe that there is a state, that there is an experience that corresponds to the statement, I am a human being. And for this reason, we think human beings are conscious and chairs are not. But if we look very closely at our experience is not, I am a human being. Our experience is, I am. So in fact, not only is there no actual experience that corresponds to the statement, I am a chair, there is no actual experience that corresponds to, I am a human being. Of course, Daniel Dennett, the philosopher, I think it was Daniel Dennett, who came up with the definition of consciousness. Something is only conscious if there is something that it is like to be that thing. Based his definition on his belief that there is something that it is like to be a human being. In other words, his definition of consciousness, which has now become the standard definition of consciousness in the philosophy of mind or consciousness studies, is based on a misunderstanding. It is based on the assumption, I am a human being. It is based on the assumption, I, this body, am aware. And because this chair doesn't have the experience, I am a chair. Therefore the chair isn't conscious, but me as this body is conscious. In other words, his definition is based on a misunderstanding of himself. And this misunderstanding has now infiltrated the entire philosophy of mind and consciousness studies community. The misunderstanding that it is based on is the understanding, I, this body, am aware. In other words, awareness is a property of this body. It is this body that is aware. No, only awareness is aware. So the name I is the name that which knows itself gives to itself. I'm going to say that again because it has such huge implications, and it's in fact, it's really the essence of the non-dual understanding. I is the name that anything that knows itself gives to itself. Yes? Is that clear? I is the name that whatever knows itself calls itself. So the next question is, what is it that knows itself? Only that is worthy of the name I. So what is it that knows itself? Does a thought know itself? Does a body know itself? Does the body call itself I? No, the body does not know itself. Does a sensation know itself? No, a sensation is known. Or what is it that knows itself? Consciousness. Consciousness is the only thing, which is not a thing of course, that knows itself. Therefore the name I should be reserved exclusively for consciousness's knowledge of itself.
Is the implication then it is a singular, or I guess non-dual, I guess it is one I am, so to speak.
Well, what is your experience of being aware? Is it one experience or is it two experiences? It's one experience. The fact of being aware is a single experience.
Right. More referring to us all in finite separate selves, experiencing the I am, we're all experiencing the same I am.
Well, the only thing that makes it seem that each of our awarenesses is different is the limitations that we imagine are attached to them. Is the space in this room different from the space in your bedroom at home?
No.
Or different from the space of my bedroom at home? No. Or different of the spaces in any of the rooms, in any of the houses, in any of the countries in the world? No. It's all the same space. What is it that seems to divide the space into separate entities? It's nothing, it's not anything in the space itself, it's the walls that seem to divide the space. The space itself is undivided. It is our thoughts, feelings, sensations and perceptions that seem to divide and therefore limit our consciousness. But the consciousness itself is undivided and unlimited. In other words, the consciousness in each of us, the simple feeling of being myself or being aware, is not itself limited or divided. It seems to be limited or divided or contained by our thoughts and feelings. Just like the space in this room seems to be limited by the four walls of this room. But if you were to take a sample of the space inside the room, and this, in other words, the apparently limited space, and the sample of the space outside the room, the apparently unlimited space, and compared them, they would be the same. It's exactly the same. The consciousness that pervades all our experience does not share the limits of our experience, just as the space in this room does not share the limits of the four walls of this room. It pervades this room, yes. It fills this room, yes. But it is not limited to this room, and it is not generated by this room. It's exactly the same with consciousness. Consciousness pervades our feeling of the body. We all feel that our entire body is pervaded by myself, or the fact of being aware. That's why most people feel I am the body, because the sense of myself fills my body. The sense of ourself does fill our body, just as this space fills this room. But just because our self fills the body doesn't mean that our self is limited to, or located in, and above all generated by the body. It is not generated by the body any more than the space is generated by the four walls of this room. So it is not consciousness itself that is limited. Each of our minds share the same consciousness, but it is our thoughts and feelings that seem to partition that consciousness into separate selves, just like the four walls of each of our houses seems to partition the single space in the universe into numerous different spaces.
You said before, you were talking about Daniel Dennett, and I actually think that he doesn't think there is consciousness. He thinks it's a kind of an illusion. So
don't even go there, Mark.
No, I know. Believe me.
No.
Well, you followed what you said about Daniel Dennett by saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, that there is nothing that it's like to experience being a human being. There is no experience of being.
No, I didn't say that. There is an experience of thoughts, feelings, sensations, and perceptions. What I said was that there was no experience that corresponds to the statement, I am a human being.
That's not what I heard. I felt like
you ask Uva, she'll tell you, she's got it on tape.
Say it again. There's no experience.
I said there's no experience. Just as, just to trace this conversation back, the definition, and I think it was Daniel Dennett's definition of consciousness, is something is conscious. Something can be said to be conscious if there is something that it is like to be that thing. In other words, if there is an experience that corresponds to the statement, I am a chair, then the chair can be said to be conscious. We can all make the statement, I am a chair. Anyone can make that statement. So the question is there an actual experience that can legitimately be expressed by saying, I am a chair? Has anyone ever had the experience, I am a chair? Does the chair have the experience, I am a chair? No. No one has ever had the experience, I am a chair. And therefore a chair cannot be said to be conscious. Mm-hmm. The presumption in this definition is that there is an experience that corresponds to the statement, I am a human being. In other words, I, consciousness, am located inside this body. And what I said was, right, if we look very, very closely, there is not an actual experience that corresponds to the statement, I am a human being.
From an
there is an experience that corresponds to the statement, there are thoughts, There are feelings, there are sensations, there are perceptions, there are activities, there are relationships. There are experiences that correspond with these statements, but there is no actual, if you look closely, there is no actual experience that corresponds with the statement, I am a human being.
Oh, okay,
There is an experience that corresponds to the statement, I am. Now, what is it that has the experience? What is it that has the experience that enables it to say, I am? Only consciousness, because only consciousness has the knowledge of itself.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you on that. What I'm saying, I think it's a semantic thing, because as a dissociated aspect of mind, not as an object, but as a subjective, dissociated aspect of the one mind, there is something it's like. There is an experience.
Close your eyes, Mark.
Okay.
Now, without referring to anything other than your direct experience, you have no memories. This is the first experience you've ever had. You're a newborn infant. Don't refer to the past. Refer to your current experience. First of all, do you have the experience of being myself?
I have the experience of being.
Okay, so keep your eyes closed. Experience of being or being myself, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, tell us about your experience of yourself or your experience of being now, without reference to the past.
Sensation. Awareness, sensation. Awareness of sensation. Light.
How do you know it's a sensation without reference to... Keep your eyes closed. How do you know it's a sensation without reference to memory?
Yeah, I guess that's what I was trying to say before. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I have no name for it. I don't know what it is. How do I know it's a sensation without...
Just try and say the most accurate thing you can about your current experience.
I am.
Anything else?
Aware.
Perfect. Anything else?
Of.
No? You're going into memory now.
I know. Okay.
Okay, end of experiment. Nothing you suggested, nothing you said, suggested to us that you had an experience of being a human being. Why didn't you say, I've got a body, I've got a mind, I'm a person, I'm a man? You didn't say any of those things. You didn't say anything to suggest that you had the experience of being a human being. You see, there is no experience that corresponds to the statement, I am a human being. There is an experience that corresponds to the statement, I am.
So are you saying that there is, that the different dissociated...
What I'm saying is that it's not the human being that knows itself. Remember, I is the name that anything that knows itself gives to itself. It's not a human being that is a body or a thought or a feeling that knows itself. Only consciousness is aware, therefore only awareness is aware, therefore only awareness knows itself or is aware of itself. Therefore only awareness is qualified to say, I am, or I am awareness. There is an experience that corresponds to the statement, I am, or I am awareness. But there is not an experience that refers to any other experience of what I am, such as I am a chair, I am a person, I am a man. There are no experiences that correspond to these statements.
I mean, a human being is a concept. That's a concept, right? So What I'm saying is, as
You are not a concept, obviously.
right, no, absolutely. Ultimately, we're all conscious. You can't even say anything about what I am, but as a dissociated aspect of mind, the experience of a human being is different than the experience of a dog. Not as I, but in apparent time and space. The human being reflects differently than a
Yes,
dog.
human beings' perceptions are different from a dog's perceptions, yes, I agree, but it doesn't change the fact that there is no experience that corresponds to the statement, I am a dog, or I am a chair, or I am a human being, or I am a perception, or I am an image, or I am a memory.
But don't we agree that all experience is real as experience, not as objects, but...
Yes, all experience is real.
Okay.
And its reality is consciousness.
Yes. Ultimately, it's all of it is consciousness, and there's nothing you can say about any of it. But the subjective aspect of being a human being, of this experience that we are having now...
No. Imagine, Mark, that the space of this room was aware. So add awareness to physical space, add the quality, just in your imagination, add the quality of awareness to the space of this room. Mm-hmm. And now ask the space of this room, what can you say about yourself? Would the space say, I am a room? No, it wouldn't. It would say, I am space, I am aware space. It would not say, I am a room, because it would not have the experience of being a room. It would just have the experience of being aware space. Now, the awareness in us does not say, I am a person, I am a human being, because it does not have the experience of being a human being, which you validated when you closed your eyes and tried to say something about yourself. You just said, I am, which was true of your experience.
I feel like this is a semantic...
No, it's not semantics. Don't reduce it to semantics. It goes to the very heart of the problem. But it is a very profound question. There is no experience that corresponds to the statement, I am a human being, is a reformulation of the essence of the non-dual teaching. It is... If one understood just that, you'd understand 2,500 years of non-dual philosophy. It would revolutionize your life. To understand that the name I can only legitimately be given to awareness's knowledge of itself. We call ourselves I all day long. Every day of our life we think and feel of ourselves as I. And that I, we have allowed it through conditioning to be qualified by our experience. And therefore we, instead of just thinking, I am, we've added, I am a man, I am a woman, I am a human being, I am 37 or 52 or 65 years old, I am tired, I'm lonely, I'm sad, I'm married. We've added all these qualities onto the I am, because we have not seen clearly what the nature, we don't realize that I is only ever refers to consciousness's knowledge of itself. We think that it refers to a body or a mind. And if we look at our experience clearly in this way, if we see that I is the name that which knows itself gives to itself, I always only refers to consciousness. All that is necessary is to make this little adjustment. It's a tiny adjustment in the way we think and feel, to make sure that our knowledge of ourself, the feeling I, only refers to eternal, infinite consciousness. You make that tiny adjustment in your thoughts, and it will just revolutionize. It's like putting a match to a haystack. It's a tiny thing, but it will burn the haystack down. the name I is the highest mantra. One need only sound the name once and allow one's attention to be drawn to its referent. That is the direct path to peace and happiness. It is why the 16th century Zen patriarch Ikkyu said, "Of all the koans, I is the most profound." It is not, in fact, necessary to turn away from any experience. Simply don't allow I to be sullied by experience. Don't allow your experience to persuade you that you are anything other than this infinite, inherently peaceful, unconditionally fulfilled presence of awareness. Once experience has lost its capacity to veil its reality, there is no need to seek certain experiences or reject other experiences in order to find peace or happiness.